Hello everyone and welcome to Educare 247. This is the sixth lecture in the series on economic and social issues, and today we'll be covering MCQs related to economic institutions. This lecture is important for RBI, NABARD as well as SEBI Grade A 2020 examination. Now before moving forward, Educare 247 brings you SEBI Grade A 2020 crash course which features around 5000 plus MCQs with concise content and live doubt sessions. So you can log on to the website and apply coupon code SEBI to get 1500 rupees off on the course. Now moving on to the MCQs. Consider the following statements regarding New Development Bank. First, the New Development Bank is a multilateral development bank established by the BRICS states. Second, the state governments in India can seek loan assistance from the NDB. Third, India is the second largest shareholder of the NDB. Which of the statements are correct? A. 1, 2 and 3, B. 1 and 3, C. 1 and 2, or D. 2 and 3. So the correct answer here is C, that is 1 and 2 statements are correct. The New Development Bank is formally referred to as BRICS Development Bank, and it is a multilateral development bank established by the BRICS states. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. According to the agreement on the NDB, the bank shall support public or private projects through loans, guarantees, equity participation and other financial instruments. Moreover, the bank shall cooperate with international organizations and other financial entities to provide technical assistance for projects. The initial authorized capital of the bank is 100 billion divided into 1 million shares having a par value of $1 lakh each. The initial subscribed capital of the NDB is $50 billion, and the initial subscribed capital of the bank was equally distributed among the members. The bank is headquartered in Shanghai, China. The first regional office of the NDB opened up in Johannesburg, South Africa. Moving on to the next question. Consider the following about special drawing rights. First, the SDR is an international reserve asset created and administered by the IMF. Second, SDRs can be exchanged for freely usable currencies. Third, a gold backing is mandatory for a nation to increase the SDR deposits. Fourth, the SDR is a financial claim on the IMF as it is accepted by most international organizations. Which of the statements is correct? A. 1 and 2, B. 1, 2 and 3, C. 2 and 3, or D. 2 and 4. So the correct answer here is D, that is 2 and 4. The SDR or special drawing rights are supplementary foreign exchange reserve assets which have been defined and maintained by the International Monetary Fund. SDR are units of account for the IMF and not a currency per se. They represent a claim to currency held by IMF members for which they have been exchanged. SDR was created in 1969 to supplement a shortfall of preferred foreign exchange reserve assets, namely gold and US dollars. SDR are allocated by the IMF to countries and cannot be held or used by private parties. The number of SDRs in existence was around 21.4 billion in August 2009. During the global financial crisis of 2009, an additional 182.6 billion was allocated to provide liquidity to the global economic system and supplement the member countries' official reserves. The value of SDR is a basket of key international currencies reviewed by IMF every 5 years. The weights assigned to each currency in the basket are adjusted to take into account their current prominence in terms of international trade and national foreign exchange reserves. In the review conducted in November 2015, the IMF decided to add the renminbi, which is the Chinese yuan, to the basket with effect from 1st October 2016. Since then, the basket has consisted of the following 5 currencies, which includes the US dollar, the euro, the renminbi, the Japanese yen, and the British pound. Moving on to the next question. Consider the following statements regarding Bank for International Settlements. First, Bank of International Settlements is an international financial institution owned by central banks which fosters international monetary and financial cooperation and serves as a bank for central banks. The BIS hosts the Secretariat of the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision, and with it, it has played a central role in establishing Basel III framework. Third, Reserve Bank of India is a member of the BIS. Which of the statements is correct? A. 1 and 2, B. 2 and 3, C. 1, 2 and 3, or D. 1 and 3. And the correct answer here is D, that is 1 and 3. The Bank for International Settlements is an international financial institution owned by central banks that fosters international monetary and financial cooperation and serves as a bank for central banks. The BIS carries out its work through its meetings, programs, and through the Basel process, hosting international groups to pursue global financial stability and facilitating their interaction. It also provides banking services, but only to central banks and other international organizations. It is based in Basel, Switzerland, and it has representative offices in Hong Kong and Mexico. It was established on 17 May 1930. The stated mission of the BIS is to serve central banks in the pursuit of monetary and financial stability and to foster international cooperation in those areas and to act as a bank for central banks. The bank pursues its mission by fostering discussion and facilitating collaboration among central bankers and supporting dialogue with other authorities that are responsible to promote financial stability. Moving on to the next question. Which of the following characterizes a managed exchange rate? First, determined by the IMF based on market movements. Second, its value is affected by the balance of payments of a nation. Third, the central bank intervenes to manage the value of the currency. And the options are A, 1 and 2 are correct, B, 2 and 3, C, 1, 2 and 3, or D, 1 and 3. So the correct answer here is B, that is 2 and 3. A managed floating exchange rate is a regime that allows an issuing central bank to intervene regularly in foreign exchange markets in order to change the direction of the currency's float and shore up its balance of payments in excessively volatile periods. This regime is also known as dirty float. Until the 1980s, the vast majority of the world currencies were subject to some form of control, but with the advent of free trade and globalization in the 1990s, most developed economies gradually removed those checks, letting their currencies' exchange rate fluctuate according to supply and demand. Free floating regimes, however, present some disadvantages, the most obvious of which is the impact of sharp fluctuations on the country's economy through the trade balance. Currency appreciation increases the price of the country's exports, while currency depreciation might pose problems for imports of essential products such as energy and food. Central banks and governments have a broad range of tools to manage exchange rates, from the subtlest of monetary policies to straightforward intervention in currency markets. In that sense, most of the world currencies are managed to a certain degree, including the most traded. Moving on to the next question. Consider the following statements about the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. First, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development is an international financial institution that supports projects from Eastern Europe to Central Asia and the Southern and Eastern Mediterranean. Second, the mandate of the EBRD stipulates that it must only work in countries that are committed to democratic principles. Third, India is yet to join European Bank of Reconstruction and Development. Which of the statements is correct? A, 1 only, B, 1 and 2, C, 2 and 3, or D, all of them. So the correct answer here is B, that is 1 and 2. The EBRD is an international financial institution founded in 1991. As a multilateral development investment bank, the EBRD uses investment as a tool to build market economies. Initially focused on the countries of the former Eastern Bloc, it expanded to support development in more than 30 countries from Central Europe to Central Asia. Similar to other multilateral development banks, the EBRD has members from all over the world, with the biggest shareholder being the United States, but only lends regionally in countries of operations. It is headquartered in London. The EBRD is owned by 69 countries and two EU institutions, the 69th being India since July 2018. Despite its public sector shareholders, it invests in private enterprises together with its commercial partners. So that's it for this lecture, but prior to ending it, Educate 247 brings you a comprehensive course for RBI Grade B 2020, which covers subjects economic and social issues, finance and management, along with comprehensive coverage of current affairs. So you can log on to the website and avail the benefits of the full video course. Thank you and happy learning.